Hi all, welcome to what is basically like a good Sorare reviews it where basically I've been doing this video a few times now the last couple of weeks and I get it done and then I'm like, oh, slip up. I've had either something crops up and I totally either forget to get this live or whatever, but we've got there in the end, hopefully, as we say this live, but we'll take it from there and we'll go and see how it all plays out. Basically, we were in basically before our Ethereum balance had bounced up. We were basically in a planning stage of do we go into Norway, get a team built for that, and then focus on kind of like bulking up, like say America, like tidying up America, Asia, and other teams like accordingly, kind of like offload what we don't need and do need kind of thing. But for now, it's like probably just a wait and see. I think for myself at the moment, I'm looking at probably add one extra America player. I think, namely a forward. I think is all I'm really kind of looking at. But at the moment, and I think we will kind of just like I've got to refresh because it will not let me see my other teams. Wonderful. Oh, when Sorare does that. And maybe bulk up the like for All-Star 220 whatever, like maybe get a more settled kind of like the right team again for like 220 I suppose, because as you can see in our results, cap 240 has 359 and a half. That was all because I got Kaplan on Friday. I literally went, I'd scouted around for a few days, I'd looked at goalies, and I was like, Kaplan's super cheap, and he plays, and I thought, well, yes, he plays for Girinspor, but they play Sivaspor, and I thought, that's a winnable game at home. And I thought, if he can keep a clean sheet, that's like 60 points, whatever happens, I can take it. It's what the rest of the team does, and I knew right away I was always going to run the Tenerife boys in the team. Disappointed Aitor Sands only scored with 49, but that's the way it goes. I've still not. I'll have to watch the highlights because I believe it was like Di Corabero, Corredera was given the assist for the fourth goal, but like I can't fault it really, to be honest. Like even if you were to have ran a full Tenerife stack, you'd only really get like about another 6 points. Then obviously, depending on Soriano's like form after it, like for you, sorry, you don't even get the multiplier. What am I saying? But like Nacho's just so consistent because he like I thought when the fourth happened, the way I was reading it, I thought if it was like because Sipchich had scored off the bench, and I thought, oh, must be a corner. I thought Sipchich has scored, so it must be a corner, and I thought, oh, Nacho must have took it because he usually takes set pieces, but I don't think he did. Romero, despite a goal, only scored 66, which is disappointing for the Romero owners because I know a few have him. Corredera, 79 for him. Like the problem with Tenerife in the midfield element is it's like they play Waldo right mid, which is handy. It's handy for me. It's like Aitor Sands is who I always go for because he's like usually a 75. He's usually was a 90-minute man, but he's getting like near 75 minutes just now. And I think because this game was wrapped up, they just thought, let's rest him. He's the captain. He's done 75 minutes or whatever. Job's done. Like Ibiza were pretty toothless last night. It was like I know a few folk that would have like Fusato, Herrera, but I was just delighted to see that kind of result. Like Tenerife guys have had a lot of chances game after game and not producing. Like to see Enric Gallego and Waldo Rubio like producing good for me, I was delighted. I might actually see if Romero's a midfielder. I'll have to double check that because if he is, I might be tempted. Corredera, I'm sure he's not really the biggest. Oh, he's actually pretty consistent, so I might actually consider him if I'm actually honest, because he's got 77 there, and that was. He's a good all rounder. Like when he gets right. he might suddenly be another alternative to consider. Yeah. Like, his first assist, funnily enough, was last night's game, which is good banter. But hey ho. Rest of the teams didn't really perform as liked. Oh, it's me, pardon me for that. Just a sneeze when you're recording, that's never ideal. Got about Bundesliga. It's brutal that Bundesliga Amateur and French League Amateur had the same, well, even Prem actually had all the same problem. Goalie, and then another player, like Honorat, like Brest played well yesterday, I could have sworn. They played well, and Honorat was the one that didn't perform. It's brutal. Because I watched the game because I was like, Bizot was playing great, Kenny Lala was on form, Chardonnat was really playing well, Belkebla, and then, but the ball came through Liduron, and I was like, couldn't be through Honorat, had to be through Liduron, and I was like, brutal. Because if he'd scored, we would have been up to about 70 points, and it would have been like Honorat. This is probably like one of his worst scoring games for a while. But like we got the win as it were. But yeah, Nice weren't firing at all yesterday. Nubel, just the goal. If they hadn't conceded, we would have been laughing. It would have been great. That's like a few folk. Like that was like owners of what do you call it? Ajaccio. They scored like late and it ruined it. Like Reims, that's just the problem with having Fouquet. It's like they conceded 3. I love how Feet gets 90 points. I took him out like a number of weeks ago because he wasn't playing and he goes and produces a 90-point game. Like Melling and Feet are like the two players I'd love to have in the squad, and same for Big Scuba Steve, as we call him. Steve Mandanda, but yeah, is what it is. I might have to fix the draft, as it were. Bundesliga, Flecken, just conceding cost me because he played so well. It was annoying. He had a good all-round score. It was that goal conceded that is what cost me, and it was Maximilian Philippe that scored. No Fulkrug, interestingly, in the starting 11, but all about Leinhardt, Holler, Salai for your points. Flecken, sadly, nothing. Frimpong, like, decent all-round score, decent stats. Just pity that there was nothing to show for it, because that's what let that down. Like Bornau 79. I love how I took Bornau out my draft and he gets 79 points. That's actually quite amusing. Tapsroba 84, Hiradeki 79. Pity. Muller, sadly, decent all-round score, just nothing to finish up with. Bayern as a whole weren't really great the weekend there. Like Coleman 76, Kimmich 71, Pavard 70. Who was the best for? Like 87 Geiger, 79 Kramaric, 62 Baumann. Yeah, is what it is. Jude was only 61, but that was because it was free. That was it. He got ruined by that. Like, he'll always do decent all-round scores, but it's like Stuttgart, if I'm honest, did not deserve to go 3-3, but that's what happens with Dortmund. They kind of ruin everybody's Sorares at times. America ruined by no Casper playing at all, which was odd. Like, why not start someone that's actually been playing alright? McMath was just because they conceded twice. That's all. Like, if he can keep a clean sheet, you're laughing. Boxall, that was just because they lost. If they hadn't, it would have been a right interesting swing, because he'd get like 60 points. Avispa, that was just a disaster. They lost 3-2. Hiroyuki Mei being the star of that team. I love how it does that again. This has been an ongoing bug just now with Sorare. It's like, I don't know what it is. But Hiroyuki Mei, good all-round score. Decent all-round score, just a pity. Saying that, look at that. 22 times he's lost possession. That, and 15 missed passes. That is actually quite alarming. 15 points basically lost. Like, you can accept possession lost a few times, but 22 times, that's quite alarming. Yeah, and Because Nagaishi conceded 3 times, your decisive gets hammered significantly. Yeah, so finish with 12. Does that potentially mean Murakami could come in? There is a possibility. But they've got to remember, they moved to a 4-back. That's what cost them, because Growley didn't play. And, like, Albrechts are a tough team to beat, but Avispa can't get a result away. That's their big problem. 220, disaster, obviously, because Musto was suspended. Didn't realise that. 270, I knew about Marafona still being banned. Yeah, All-Star, Yilmaz, like, he's now back in training. I don't like, basically the management and everything with him. It's so, like, it goes back to what we're saying with a few of the players, like what happens, like who are we taking out the team and whatnot. Because there's quite a few that would like. How much time did Dozier Cup get? 45 minutes and a 4-0 hammering. I love how he played so well before Christmas, and he's not even had this, like, a sniff since, really. But in terms of what we're thinking with, I might say with 240, if we were to finish in the top 120, we'd get a tier 2 on top of the threshold money. Do I think we'll get it? I think we'll probably drop down into tier 3. And I'll still take a tier 3. I wouldn't complain at all. There's a lot of good tier 3 options in this. So, like, I doubt I'll get like a Beto or a Roldan or an Angel Gomez. Like, realistically, like, if I was to get Daizen, for example, I'd be buzzing. Like, somebody like a Daizen Maeda. Who else would I quite like? Most realistically, I'd end up probably like Javier Moose or Baumgartner. I'll probably get somebody I wouldn't use. That's the thing. Like, and I don't really want that. Like, Pereira. Like, what's his value now? Because obviously he got sent off. I went a bit too quick there. I might have to give me a sec. Yeah, not Zaragoza, sorry, Santander. Yeah, Mikel Pereira. He'll be tanked in value, yeah, because he's... I don't want him now, because he's obviously been suspended for like a couple games for his red card. So, because that's how we ended up going for Jochen. Like, we took Joachim, we put a bid in last night basically and got him. It was a bid last night to get him like with this morning in mind, so we were like delighted that when it expired. £3.56. He's does not play average, so he's like a free hit for people, so that's not too bad. He is next cheapest. Interesting, 117 there. I might actually just keep trying to get him. Like, he might be a bit of a stockpiler for me, because even if he is playing, he's going to go more than £4. Come on, even if he's just playing, if he was to go, if you're paying like say £3.50 and you know you can get out the door for £5, you'd be delighted. That's why he's getting a supply put up just now. But we'll keep an eye and take it from there, because obviously he peaked up to like £7. So that's not too bad. But in terms of like players that we're thinking of offloading, like Doja Cop would be one, Marafona another, Asuar, probably Satilmas probably, because we would like to maybe look at fielding a full set of goalies. Murakami I'll likely keep just because of like that last game, but also just having both Avispa goalies is never a bad thing. Lundqvist, Yilmaz, probably I think Yilmaz is maybe now somebody that we may want to consider offloading, but at the same time he is horribly down in value. Form is going horribly out the window as well, so I will have to think about how we progress with him, because there is talk of him retiring at the end of the season. But then, like, yeah, it's interesting with that one. Casper might go. Benamar, I'm not sure. I might just keep him because he's just a cheap option, and it just gives a Eredivisie option, I suppose. Ethan Finlay, Harada. Like, there's a lot. I think there's just a lot of culling I want to do. Who's Larry's doing? Terrible. Wonderful. Wonderful. Kakiru's just not getting game time. It's great. Kashiwa is kind of the same problem. Takeda, not played the last two. Odd. Especially when he played well against Yokohama. So yeah, I'll have to see how that one goes. Others that will likely maybe try and offload. Katayama maybe, because he's suddenly not played the last 3 games. But got to remember there's a lot of games as the season goes. How's Enric looking for value? Some people willing to pay £2, some people like. The thing is, his form's really good. He's got 2 goals there. He's got a goal against Villarreal B team and then a goal there. So he's got 4 goals in his last 5 games. So it's a good positive, and he's a high multiplier for me. Raul Navarro, we're probably going to say goodbye to maybe. It's like just kind of alarming. Like saying that, I might not actually, because he's somebody that's a good defender in the league. Like he had good form up till pretty much like the end of January, and then it's basically, I think, the whole team, whatever's happened. Nacho, obviously one of our bigger spends, but still great form from him. But obviously value's just a bit alarming. Same with like Victor Diaz. Didn't obviously play last game. Like when we bought him, he was in form, so that's what our biggest downfall is. Musto is £1, so we can pretty much, if we could get £1, I'd be delighted. But he was suspended, that's what went against him. El Yakubi, 10% now, my god. Super consistent when he does play, so like, I still want to keep him. I'd imagine he'll stay around the squad and makes all the difference if they do stay up. Pinto is going to be an interesting one. Does he stay there? Does he leave? Because obviously he's part of this, like, because it's, if there's trouble in Sittard, like, does he go? That's the question. And then Vren's obviously one of our biggest initial spends. Didn't play the last game. If he was to have this kind of form, like the 50-60 point form, then every game you'd be kind of laughing for Eredivisie squads and whatnot. But as I said, I think we'll do quite a bit of culling over like the summer months, like from, well, not even summer months, from like now, and get the balance up a wee bit more. If we can push it into 3 figures, would be awesome. But at the same time, I'm not stressing myself, because we'd like to do a bit of trading, but to-ing and fro-ing, but obviously game week 364 we've got to worry about, but yeah, it's just trying to get teams, if I'm actually honest, in a better kind of like consistency, really, because there is teams that have like potential to do well consistently, like my 220, like my Asia, like my America. Yeah, it's quite, it's trial and error. Like 220, 270, like the capped teams I should be having all 5 playing regardless. That's what you're kind of aiming for every week. All-star, same kind of like parameters really, because like for 2,500 people, I should have a team that can compete in that, no problem. And I mean that, by the way, because I know quite a few folk have good points. Like, it's like Phil's has got nearly 400 points, and well, that's a team I would never be able to afford just now. It would be a kind of like dream team to have. Even that kind of team would be a bit of a push for me, but it's being smart. Like, at the same time, it wouldn't be a bad thing to have the same Tenerife guys. If you know you feel confident in like a cheap team, you say to yourself, if I fielded like say a Tenerife stack, for example, in that competition for All-Star, would it run close kind of element, and that's kind of what I've got to think about for like next season. Really, if I'm honest, like this kind of season now, there's not much time left, but at the same time, if we could still try and field competitive teams in 220, 240, like Asia America. So it's like 4 teams is generally what we're always going to consistently be hopefully fielding quite strongly. It's just everything else is a bit of a challenge. That's what it's quite evident. Like the drafts will be fine. It's just try to field decent limited teams, as it were. But we'll get there. We will get there, folks. But yeah. So, and plus we've got plenty coins inbound as well. Not like we're spending them. So in the shop. Like maybe one day we'll get a rare, and then eventually maybe one day a super rare, and then eventually one day a unique. But till those days come, we'll worry about it another day. But as I said, folks, let me know how your so rares are going. As I said, we'll hopefully have a reward, maybe do a reward video or whatever tomorrow, like tomorrow later in the week or whatever for 240. But I thought I'd just do a kind of like an update review video, because it's something I wanted to get kind of break down and just kind of go into depth. But we'll take it from there and hopefully find it. So obviously an extra $5 into the balance is handy, plus whatever tier reward we get as well. So have a good one, folks. Take it easy all. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you all later.